When I moved from financial accounting to management accounting, as management accountant, we have a lot of access to the data that we produce for the reports, which is why being able to access that data and making sure that the data that we are working on and that the data that we are basing our insights on are actually because of the changing and fast-paced landscape, we should take an active stance into upskilling ourselves and learning about these tools and my book is designed to be both informative and practical, covering foundational concepts to more advanced solutions to address data integrity.
Our guest is Jane Sarah Lat, a seasoned finance consultant with over 14 years of experience in financial management and analysis. Jane has worked with major multinational companies like Verizon and Chevron. She's also the author of the book, Managing Data Integrity for Finance, where she dives into the crucial role of data accuracy in driving profitability. Today, we'll explore her insights on data integrity, data accuracy, and so much more. Stay tuned. Hello, Jane. Welcome to the Flow podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well and very excited to be here on your podcast, Nathan.
Thank you for being here, Jane. I thought it'd be great to have a conversation with you about data integrity. You published a book recently, so I would love to dive straight into my first question as it relates to your book. What inspired you to write Managing Data Integrity for Finance, and what is the key takeaway for readers?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Nathan. And so when I moved from financial accounting to management accounting more than 7 years ago, I realized that as management accountants that we have a lot of access to the data that we produce for the reports. And at the same time, we do a lot of reconciliation, reporting, giving insights to the management in terms of the analysis that we have done, which is why being able to access that data and making sure that the data that we are working on and that the data that we are basing our insights on are actually correct, reliable, and dependable. And that is very important. And that has inspired me to write my book, Managing Data Integrity for Finance. And with regards to the key takeaway for readers, I feel that this is actually a very good time for management accounting professionals in order to dive deeper into the tools available in the marketplace. And I do believe that as management accounting professionals, because of the changing and fast-paced landscape, that we should take an active stance into upskilling ourselves and learning about these tools, because I do believe that the tools available will make us more productive, effective, and add more value to the businesses that we are working for. And my book is designed to be both informative and practical, covering foundational concepts to more advanced solutions to address data integrity.
I love the fact that your book also includes practical knowledge and application of the knowledge, because it's one thing is to read a book conceptually, and then another is to actually apply the new skills and knowledge gained. So the fact that your book includes that, it's really great. Do you have any preferred software or tools for data integrity that a management accountant can maybe look into and leverage in their organization?
Yep. And so in the book, I divided the tools and techniques into three major ones. And the first one would be the spreadsheets, such as Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets. And then the next one would be the business intelligence tools, which I covered in 3 chapters in my book, such as Power BI, Tableau, and Alteryx. And lastly, I covered more advanced techniques and data, such as the database locking techniques, Amazon Quantum Ledger database, and ChatGPT as well. So those are my preferred ones, which I've covered in detail.
It's great that you've also covered a little bit of AI in there as well. This is something that's going to continue to change. And I imagine data integrity is becoming an even bigger topic also because of all the data that feeds into these AI models that need to be pristine, they need to be accurate. Because once you feed wrong information to it, you're going to get garbage out as well, right? So having data integrity is even more crucial these days. I'd say for management and accounting for sure, because of all the decisions we got to make, but also just across an organization. From your experience working with blue chip companies and big corporations, who do you usually see spearheading a data integrity audit and implementation and ensuring that the data integrity is correct?
I do believe that the people spearheading this change within the organization would be coming from the top. So having the tone from the top, with where we are seeing that our leaders in terms of the management are actually looking into data integrity as a prime importance in how to drive the business. At the same time, having data governance in place and into the processes that are being done day to day definitely helps. One of the
Hmm.
things that I've covered in my book is actually like the correlation between looking at driving the business in terms of picturing oneself in the driver's seat of your car. So it's like when you're looking at the data, because as management accountants, we have access to internal management reports, the profitability, the balance sheet, and the cash flow, for example. And so I used in chapter 2 the analogy of that because when you're in the driver's seat, in order for you to reach a particular destination, and in correlation to that, it could be, okay, how profitable do we want our business to be? Or what's the cash reserves that we're aiming at? And so to reach that desired destination, we do need a lot of reporting to see
Yep.
what are the drivers or the levers that we need to move in order to get us to our desired point. And so I correlate that with looking at the dashboard of the front seat of our car because that displays the speed, the gas level, the warning signals that lets you know if there's something wrong. And so building and operating a successful business is the same. And by recognizing and being aware of the information that the reports provide us, and by understanding what they truly mean, we gain a clearer picture of how a company is performing, which allows you to make more insightful business decisions, which help you drive success.
That is a fantastic analogy, Jane. I think it drives the point home as to why data integrity is needed, having a dashboard that can kind of tell you how the business is operating, what things need to be addressed, or what things are going well, and you can double down on that. So would you say that Power BI would be a great tool for a dashboard creation? Or what would you recommend?
Yes, indeed. Power BI is definitely a great tool, as well as Tableau from Salesforce as well.
Mm.
In 3 chapters in my book, I've covered the techniques and tools from Power BI and Tableau Salesforce deeply, wherein I provided examples wherein the particular tools and techniques can be used in practical applications as how to, for
Mm.
example, from the installation of these tools as well
Mm-hmm.
as using them in order to clean the data and perform data integrity strategies and techniques.
That's so good. That's so helpful to know, Jane. In an accounting and finance department, who would you say should be inclined to grab this book right now and go learn it and start trying to implement this at work?
My book has been designed to provide information from foundational to more practical and a broader view. And so, in terms of that, I've written it for both higher level parts of management and at the same time to the specialists and analysts who could gain a lot of value in terms of the mindset and the tools and the techniques in order to address data integrity for the business.
We'll make sure to include a link to the book in the show notes for our audience who's watching or listening to this episode. But don't go just yet. We'll have more time with Jane. So let's continue with our conversation. I have a second question for you. How does poor data integrity impact financial decisions from your view? And how can organizations address this issue?
Definitely. So, poor data integrity can lead to a variety of issues, such as
Mm.
the lack of trust in systems, damage to reputation, and as well as compliance issues with laws and regulations. And going back to my first point about the lack of trust in systems.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah.
to help us make informed decisions on the reports, the data that we need to use should be correct, reliable, and dependable. And if there are issues or discrepancies which result from the company's internal systems, the users, such as management, can lose their trust and confidence in using them, which makes them unreliable. And secondly, with regards to damage to reputation, it can lead to adverse effect on the company's reputation coming from the customers and the stakeholders. And then lastly, with regards to compliance issues with regulations, there are a lot of regulations put in place at the moment, both locally and globally, which are used to counter fraud and improve the reliability of financial statements, such as SOX, the Sarbanes-Oxley, Basel III, or the GDPR.
From your experience, do ERP systems kind of help with data integrity in a way? Or does companies need additional software and tools for maintaining integrity of their data?
I do think that a lot of the systems that are put in place, they do have built-in metrics or checking points in order to address these. Although I did not cover them in a broad array in terms of diving deeply into the ERP. What I have covered though in my book would be the database locking techniques, wherein I've covered how do we identify issues in terms of, so for example, the database locking techniques. One of the issues that I've noted is that, and the risk is that, what if, for example, let's say there are two people who want to book movie tickets at the same time. And then the challenge with that is, what if, for example, both of us, we're in different parts of the world. I'm in Sydney, you're in South California. What if we're looking at the same thing in terms of booking the movie tickets, but then what if we book it at the same time and then apparently that's the last one? And so there's an issue with regards that, because what if mine went through and yours went through as well? And so
Mm-hmm.
the issue there is that there should have been only one person who could have bought the movie tickets, but instead it both went through. And so in order to address that, there needs to be processes involved in terms of how that potential risk should be addressed. Does that answer your question, Nathan?
Yes, it does, Jane. Thank you very much. That was a very clear explanation. I appreciate it. Can you explain the connection between data accuracy and profitability as discussed in your book?
Yes, there's definitely a positive correlation between those two in terms of the data accuracy and profitability. And going back to my analogy earlier with regards being on the driver's seat of your car, it's really important because when we have accurate data and we have the data that we could definitely rely on in terms of making our business decisions, we have more confidence that the decisions that we are making are really insightful and will really help drive the business forward. On the alternate, if the information that we're basing on is incorrect, unreliable, and not timely, then definitely profitability will suffer because we're not basing it on proper information. So I do believe that there is a positive correlation between those two, and improving the data accuracy and data integrity of data will improve profitability.
I agree 100% with everything you said, Jane. I know it's a big lift to work through and ensure the data is accurate going into a system, that it's accurate, there's data integrity, but it pays off in the long run because CFOs, management accountants can make better decisions, right, with the correct information in their system. So I think for companies who have not dived deep into this particular topic yet, they assume their data is correct or they assume there's accuracy. I guess the next step would it be like a data audit, would you suggest? Or what would be the next step for a company who wants to dive deeper into this specifically that hasn't done it before?
Yes, and so there are a lot of things that are still simple to do, even if so. One of probably the myths of having a data integrity process in place would be that you need a large budget, but there are already things that you could do that do not really need a lot of budget for it, because with the tools that are available, a lot of them are low cost or even free, such as the Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, key practices that I could recommend in order to improve the data integrity would be um, having having a culture of transparency and accountability with each of the people in your team, because data integrity is not only a job, for example, for finance teams, but it should be inculcated with each and every of the individuals working for the company. at the same time having the right team structure and composition, which is designed to support data integrity, and at the same time well documented policies and procedures would be able to address that as well.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because my first thought was that this is a very expensive endeavor. So I'm so glad that you mentioned those principles to follow. It doesn't really cost much in comparison with what I was thinking. So that's a very good approach for companies who are just starting out in this journey to ensuring data integrity in their systems. Thank you for that, Jane. The next question for you is: how do you see technology reshaping the way finance teams maintain data integrity?
I agree. At the moment, I feel like we have a lot of opportunity, Nathan, with regards to the changes in technology right now. And we have a lot of tools at our disposal to maintain the integrity of the data. One of the reports that I read a while back was the World Economic Forum report, Future of Jobs report that they've published. And it mentioned there that because of the change in technology, there's going to be a lot of jobs that will be displaced or automated, for example. And at the same time, there will be a lot more jobs, millions of jobs that are going to be created. And so I do feel that this is a very good time to take an active stance in order to learn these technologies, how the market is shifting, what kind of skill sets are needed in the marketplace. And so being able to be at the forefront of those changes and then really seeing how the market is shifting and what tools are available in order for us to see which parts of our skill sets need more development will definitely help us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that the report you're referencing is brought up a lot of concerns around accounting and finance professionals about like what's going to happen to my job? Am I going to get is my job getting automated? And people are concerned. I'm concerned too. You know, it's like what's going to happen with this entire AI revolution? What's happening? But I love the positive mindset that you have and the proactive approach as to going out there, learning new skills, learning that technology, embracing it versus just sitting back and waiting for things to happen. Probably that wouldn't be the best thing to do. Whenever there's a revolution, it's better to be proactive about things and try to upskill and reskill in many ways to stay competitive, just because we don't know what the future holds.
I definitely agree, Nathan. My main mindset would for that would be where's the value of the things that we're doing, or what's the value of
That's a great
the
question.
reports of that we are providing to management. And I do think that
Hmm.
because of that value that we're providing, then whatever the change in the technology is, or even if there's going to be a rise in AI and machine learning, if we're able to ride that wave or that tide, then definitely we'll be able to survive and even thrive in this changing landscape.
Absolutely. Just out of curiosity, how is Jane preparing for this change that's coming or that's already here and is slowly evolving in front of our eyes? How are you looking into this, and what are you personally doing to stay competitive?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really interesting question. And a really good question, Nathan, because I've been so at the moment, what I'm doing is actually a balance of on top of my full-time job and studying for my part-time for my MBA, is that on my some of my free time, I also listen to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of articles, and at the same time read a lot of books and even upskill myself on the different kinds of technologies. And so it is a constant real work in terms of upskilling myself. Yeah. So at work, for example, we're using the NIME data analytics platform. And so before we were using that, while we were using that, I took into myself to learn it on my free time, sometimes on the weekends as well, or sometimes before work when I can. And so that really incredibly helped me out because, like, for example, you mentioned earlier that as accountants, there's a lot of jobs that will be automated. And so I do believe that the robotic process automation and the tools that we have really would really help us streamline the process that we're doing. So for example, having those repetitive tasks, then we can potentially think, okay, what's my end goal really? And how do I structure it in such a way that I'm still going to get that report, even if I don't do it manually? What are the tools available at my disposal that could help me lead to that report at a shortened time frame? And then use the time freed up in order for me to really find the insights, understand what this information is telling me in order to provide more insights to the decision makers, which will prove valuable so that they could make the better decisions for the company.
That is so good, Jane. I think that finding ways to optimize your work and maybe even automate some parts of your work, and you take proactive approach of doing that, as opposed to taking a class in some obscure coding class that you may never use in your day-to-day job. It's better to look at what you're doing now. At least this is what I heard you say. Look at what you do now, go out there and see if there are software tools that can help you do it better or faster, and present that to management as a way to continue giving value to the company. Did I get that? Did I get that right?
Indeed, 100%, Nathan. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's very good advice, Jen. I know that that's a question that a lot of college kids have is like, okay, I'm going to major in accounting, finance, I'm getting an MBA in finance or accounting. What's going to happen? Is that knowledge obsolete? I'd say definitely not, because that's an incredible foundation that is necessary to work in this industry. But the learning, just in your clear example, doesn't stop there. Continuous learning is important, and being proactive about it. Instead of waiting for an instructor or a professor to give you an assignment, now it's really on each individual to go out there and be proactive and learn new skills.
I agree. And a lot of the things that I've covered in the book, for example, the tools like Power BI, Tableau, Alteryx, and the more advanced ones such as the database locking techniques and the quantum ledger database,
Mm-hmm.
these companies, these information is all available on YouTube, on the company's websites, and there are a lot of them are free. At the same time, if you go to on Udemy, the courses there are not that expensive either, or on LinkedIn Learning. And so at this point, like on our laptops, on our mobile phones, we can access so much information to help us upskill in various areas or whatever ideas or topics that we are interested in.
Yes, 100%. I'm a big YouTuber. I love YouTube. So whenever I need to learn something new, I jump on YouTube first, search for the topic, and usually I find a lot of videos on the topic by professionals who have a lot of experience in that particular topic. So that's a great way to learn for free. You mentioned other platforms that works as well, but I will definitely direct people to your book as a great place to start in terms of learning about these tools, learning about data accuracy and data integrity as well, because that's the bread and butter really of finance and accounting, right? Without good data, we can't really make good decisions. So I think it really starts there. So if you're in college or fresh out of college, get Jane's book. I think it will add so much value to you. And when you join the workforce, or you're already working for a company, you'll have so much more to share and be able to help out and give value to your management team. My next question for you is, what qualities do finance leaders need to successfully implement data integrity practices?
For me, one of the qualities that finance leaders need to successfully implement data integrity practices is having a learner's mindset and an attitude of curiosity. Going back to the what we've discussed earlier with regards to changing landscape, is that a lot of the changes that we're seeing at the moment is that it's just so fast. And at the same time, there are a lot of technologies that are constantly being introduced into the market. And so having that learner's mindset, knowing that you have with yourself the ability to ride those changes and then
Hmm.
seeing it and being curious about what's going to be the impact. How do I learn these new things? And at the same time, how can I implement them into the organization so that we could get the maximum benefit out of these practices? So I do think that learner's mindset and the attitude of curiosity would be the foundational ones on which everything builds on.
I like that. I like that. It now with information available and accessible nowadays with the internet and everything, it makes sense to continue learning. I think learning never stops. And I mean, I'm a lifelong learner. I love to learn new skills and expand what I know. So I think the advice you just gave is definitely spot on for everyone, any profession, really, right? This doesn't apply only to accounting and finance professionals, but every single person in the workforce. It's important to continue learning and advancing your skills and knowledge. What future challenges do you foresee in maintaining data integrity, and how does your book address them?
So, with regards to the first part of your question, Nathan, looking ahead, one of the major challenges in maintaining data integrity will be the increasing complexity of data environments. And as organizations continue to integrate various data sources, ranging from legacy systems to cloud based platforms, ensuring consistency and accuracy across these systems will become a bit more difficult. And additionally, of course, the rise of big data and advanced analytics such as AI and machine learning, these introduces new risks such as data biases and errors, which can distort financial insights if not carefully managed.
Hmm.
And in my book, Managing Data Integrity for Finance, I address these challenges by offering a framework that is both practical and resilient, covering foundational topics to more advanced ones. And the book provides strategies for managing data across complex systems, wherein I've covered how this can be done using Power BI, Tableau, and Alteryx, and ensuring that even as data environments become more sophisticated, integrity is maintained. And I also delve into practices covering, for example, ChatGPT and understanding how this technology, what risks that it introduces, and how we can better understand and get a lot of value from these tools.
Jane, this has been such an educational and insightful conversation. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast and sharing freely your knowledge and being so gracious with your time. I would love to direct people somewhere online to learn more about you, to look up your book, to follow your work. Where would you like to send our audience to learn more about you?
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. It's been really a pleasure to be on your podcast, and I really appreciated our conversation today. I would like to direct your audience to the people listening to my LinkedIn profile. They could search for me, Jane Sarah Lat, and they will find me there. And at the same time, my book is on Amazon. They could search for it, Managing Data Integrity for Finance, and they will come up. And at the same time, on the Pact Publishing website as well, which is my publisher, they could search for it in their website, and they'll find my book there as well.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to drop links of all of that in the show notes. So everybody go follow Jane on her LinkedIn and also grab a copy of her book, and you will not regret it. It's packed with great information, and it's applicable to anyone who uses data, which is pretty much everyone in today's world. It is a data-driven world anyways. So grab a copy, read it, leave a review for Jane, and connect with her on LinkedIn. Thanks again, Jane. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and best of luck with the book.
Thank you, Nathan. Really great to be on your show.